In tonight's coverage of the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination, last night we introduced you to a Wabash Valley nurse.
Phyllis Hall, raised in Oblong, Illinois, was working at Parkland Hospital in Dallas on November 22, 1963, where history would find her.
Previously, we told you Phyllis had headed to the emergency room to visit coworkers. But what happened next made this Wabash Valley nurse part of history.
She told us, she said there's been an accident in the president's motorcade and they're on their way here. Well, the words weren't out of her mouth till the doors just exploded. And as I stood there, they were bringing LBJ and Lady Bird through, and he was just colorless. I heard before I saw the governor of Texas, Governor Conley, who was just gravely wounded, and he was just very lucky to survive this whole ordeal. But he was just moaning and crying out in pain.
Up to that point, Phyllis had just been a spectator on November 22, 1963. But as the next cart crashed through the emergency room doors, everything changed. A man in a suit lay on a stretcher with a woman laying across him covering up his head. It wasn't until a Secret Service agent approached her that Phyllis realized the man on the cart was the president.
He just put his hand on my elbow. Of course, I was in a white uniform. He said, "We need your help back here." So I walked into Trauma 1, and they had the cart set up in the position that it should be in. So I walked over to the cart, saw that it was the president, and started trying to find vital signs on him. I felt for carotids, radials, and foot pulses. There was just nothing there, and he was just very blue-gray.
For almost an hour, Phyllis and a team of doctors worked to save the life of the 35th president, John F. Kennedy.
They were putting chest tubes in him to see if they couldn't somehow find some spark of life and get the lung inflated again. One of the doctors, first doctors to get down there, did have a stethoscope and said he heard 3 or 4 last heartbeats. And he heard what we call agonal breathing. It's just simply oxygen leaving the lungs at that time. It is not serving any purpose.
After 43 minutes, the doctors pronounced the president dead.
So on that day is when it really hit me. And the feeling, the emotion I had was that of a mother and a wife, because Jackie's husband was gone, and these little kids that you kind of saw growing up playing under Dad's desk in the Oval Office, you know, Dad was gone. And my kids were the exact ages at that time of the Kennedy kids.
Fate would not lead Phyllis to save a life that day. For the Wabash Valley healer, raised in the town of Oblong, Illinois, November 22, 1963, forged a path in her life she would follow for the next 40 years.
Well, I'm a person of great faith. And when God called me to be his nurse at 9 years old, he said it'll never be boring, and boy was he right. I've never had, that I can think of anyway, a boring day in my life, and I just always feel like it's just such a worthy, worthwhile profession.
A healer sent from heaven to be with the president in his last moments. With photojournalist Gary Bryan, I'm Matt Gregory, News 10.
If you would like to see the story again, you can catch the entire End of Camelot series this Saturday, November 23rd at 1 o'clock on WTHI-TV.